Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a nice weekend. We're going to read a new story. The name of the story is The Smartest Giant in Town. What can we see on the front cover? We can see a big pair of shoes and some long legs. Whose do you think those might be? A giant's. And on the front cover we can see different animals. There's a giraffe, a fox, a goat, and lots of little mice. So let's read the story, and then at the end we can talk about some of the words in the story and what those words mean. Are you ready? Are you listening carefully? Good. Let's begin. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched-up gown. "I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town," he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes. So he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the sides, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. "Now I'm the smartest giant in town," he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound outside. On the pavement stood a giraffe, who was sniffling sadly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my neck," said the giraffe. "It's so very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long warm scarf." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his stripy tie. "It didn't match my socks anyway," he said, as he wound it round and round the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. "Thank you," said the giraffe. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat, who was bleating loudly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "Bah! It's my sail," said the goat. "It blew away in the storm. Bah! I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat. Bah!" "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his new white shirt. "It kept coming untucked anyway," he said. As he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat, it made a magnificent sail. "Thank you," said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a tiny, ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's our house," squeaked the mother mouse. "It burnt down, and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyway," he said. As the mouse and her babies scrambled inside, the shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you," they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself, "My tie is a scarf for an old giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox, who was crying. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the sides. "It was tickling my toes anyway," he said. As the fox snuggled into it, it made a very fine sleeping bag. "Thank you," said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a big, squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog, who was howling. "What's the matter?" asked George. "Oof, it's this bog," said the dog. "Oof, I need to get across, oof, but I can't. I keep getting stuck in the mud, oof, oof. I wish there was a safe, dry path, oof, oof." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his smart new belt. "It was squashing my tummy anyway," he said. As he laid it down over the bog, it made an excellent path. "Oof, thank you, oof, oof," said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, my belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog, but my trousers are falling down! I'm the coldest giant in town!" Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery, and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, "I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes," he decided. He turned round and hopped all the way back to the shop. But when he got there, it was closed. "Oh no!" cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep, and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. "My gown!" he yelled. "My dear old gown and sandals!" George put them on. He felt wonderfully comfortable. "I'm the cosiest giant in town," he said, and he danced back home along the road. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. "Come on, George," they said, "open it." George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. "Look inside the card, George," said the animals. George put the crown on his head and opened the card. "Your tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helps a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town." The end. Did you like that story? I liked it. The story was all about kindness. The giants went around town helping some of the animals who were in trouble by doing acts of kindness. And in the story we heard some words that we might not have heard before. Words like scruffiest, smartest, kindest. What does scruffiest and smartest mean? In the beginning of the story, George the giant was upset because he felt like he looked scruffy. He was wearing an old patched up gown, some old sandals, and his hair, look at his hair, it's very messy. He looked scruffy. Then he brought some clothes, some smart clothes. He got dressed, he brushed his hair, look, and then he looked smart. You say with me. Scruffy, smart. Which of these boys looks the scruffiest? Scruffy. This boy looks a little bit scruffy. I think maybe he's been playing outside. He needs to clean up. This boy looks very smart. He has a shirt, it's tucked into his trousers. He's wearing a tie. He's brushed his hair. He looks smart. Look at these wardrobes with clothes in them. One of them looks tidy or smart, and one of them looks messy or scruffy. Which one looks untidy and scruffy? This one. And which wardrobe looks smart and tidy? This one. Do you tidy up your clothes at home and make your wardrobe smart and tidy? So, like we said, the story was all about kindness. What are some acts of kindness that we can do, that I could do or you could do? Well, you could share. That would be kind. You can wave to a friend or wave at a friend when you see them. You can clean up after yourself. You can play with others nicely. Remember to take turns and share and wait. You can say nice things to people. Remember good manners, beautiful words like please, thank you, excuse me. You can smile and help other people. You can listen to others. Listen to your mummy, listen to your daddy, your family. Listen to your friends. And of course, listen to your teachers. You can hold the door open for someone. That would be a kind thing to do. You can say hello to your friends and family when you see them. You can make a new friend. You could tidy up your bedroom. So there are lots of things that we can do, lots of acts of kindness. Being kind is very, very important. I hope you enjoyed our story. Thank you so much for listening again, and bye for now.